Hello everyone, I'm Franziska Möller from Green Delta, and in the next 30 to 40 minutes, more or less, I am going to tell you what is new in the latest version of openLCA. I have muted all of you for now, and I would ask you to stay muted until the end, and then if it's not too chaotic, I will allow questions if you have any. I will also record the webinar and upload it to our YouTube channel later. I will focus on 3 new features that are now available in the software, which are the data quality systems, the collaboration server, and the new update manager. I'm not going to give a general introduction to openLCA or explain the more basic functions. I know that some of you are completely new to openLCA, so if you have more general questions, feel free to contact me after the webinar. I will then also explain some smaller improvements that have been done in the software and inform about upcoming trainings. Green Delta has been developing openLCA since more than 10 years now, since 2006 basically. And it was and still is the only completely open source software for lifecycle assessment. It has evolved quite a lot over the past 10 years and offers basically all functionalities that you would expect from a professional LCA software, plus it has some unique features that other LCA software does not necessarily have. So we are at the point now where we are really happy with the software, but we still keep improving it constantly and implementing new features that we think are useful, such as the ones that I will present now. Let's start with the data quality systems. Our motivation was that we wanted to give the possibility not only to document data quality, but also to calculate an aggregated data quality for a complete product system. So we added a new element in the openLCA database structure, which is called data quality systems, and where the user is completely free and flexible in choosing the layout and the structure of the quality system. This could, for example, look like the eco-invent pedigree matrix, which some of you probably know. And by default, we are also including this eco-invent matrix in the database or in every database that is provided for openLCA. You can see on the left side, you see the indicators such as reliability or completeness or temporal correlation. And on the top, you see the scores for each indicator. In this case, it starts with 1, which is the best, and goes until 5, which means the worst data quality. So you can either use existing quality systems, such as the one from eco-invent, but you can also create your own data quality system. And how does this work? It's basically the same as for all other elements in an openLCA database. You right-click on the folder and select Create New, and then you give it a name, click Finish, and the quality system opens up in an editor. And then you can start adding indicators, as many as you want, and scores, also as many as you want, at the bottom. You are completely free how your system will look like, and you could, for example, create only one indicator for, say, an overall or general data quality that has 3 scores, for example, good, medium, and bad in this case. And then is the question, what do you do with these matrices? Basically, they can be used for 3 different purposes. First, you can use it for documenting the general data quality of a process. You can also use it for documenting the the data quality of a flow in a process, and you can use it when you do a social LCA for documenting the data quality of social aspects. Let's have a look at the first option. In the process editor, we have included a new section, data quality, at the bottom of the general information tab. So there, under process schema, you can select one of the quality systems that you have defined or that you want to use. And then under data quality entry, you can define the scores that you want to assign to this process. This information is only for documentary purposes, so it will not be used in the calculation. The second option is to use data quality systems for flows in a process. So again, in your process, you would go to the data quality section and then choose the system that you want to use. For example, the EcoInvent data quality system that is already provided. And then you go to the Inputs and Outputs tab of the process, and for each flow you can select in the column Data Quality Entry, you can select the scores. The column is basically the same as the pedigree matrix column before. So if you click Edit, you will have a pop-up with a matrix that you can see on the left here, where you can define the scores, and these values will also be taken into account in the calculation later. The third option for using a data quality system is when you do a social LCA. For example, when you use the PLCA database. I will not explain this further now. But let's see how an aggregated data quality is calculated. So when you're calculating a product system, you now have the option to also, or to select assess data quality. And basically, you will have some flows in your system that are used several times with different amounts and different data qualities. So an aggregation of this data quality of these flows needs to be done. And if you check the box, Assess Data Quality, you have a Next button where you can define some settings. You can define, for example, the rounding method, or what should happen to flows that do not have an entry for data quality, whether they should be excluded completely from the calculation, or, for example, whether they should be assigned the worst score. These are things that you can define here in the data quality properties. And then when you calculate, here you have the calculation results for an exemplary process. And some tabs are extended by new information. So in the general information tab, for example, which is still the first one, you have some statistics about the data quality. So you can see, for example, how many of your processes have data quality defined, have process data quality defined. In this case, it is only one process out of 15, which is a really small product system in total. And then below this, you can see the same information for the flow data quality. So this is just some statistics. And in the inventory results, for example, you have a new column that shows for each flow if data quality was defined, and if so, what are the scores given. You can also see the calculated results in the LCA results, or impact analysis, as it is called now. In the left picture, I had chosen in the calculation settings that flows without a data quality entry should be excluded from the calculation, which is why there is so much empty space here. And on the right, where there's a lot of red, I had chosen that flows without a data quality entry, they should get the worst score in the calculation, just to show you that there is a difference. And the process data quality is also shown in the Sankey diagram in this small chart within each process. Another thing that comes together with this new feature is the possibility to derive uncertainty data from a data quality system. So when you create a new data quality system, you are asked whether you want the system to define uncertainties. And if you select that option, you can, for each cell in this matrix that you have defined, you can set an uncertainty value. This has also been done for the eco-invent data quality system. As you can see here, these are defined by the eco-invent system. And if you're using a system that defines uncertainties, an uncertainty is calculated from the data quality entries that you have selected, and you can choose use as uncertainty value to apply this value as uncertainty value for a flow, which means that it is added to the uncertainty column. And, well, in this case, there should be a geometric mean should be 5. But this information can then also be used in the Monte Carlo simulation, for example. So from the data quality system, you can generate uncertainty values that can be used in Monte Carlo simulation. That is completely new, and we think it's a really helpful feature. And if you're working with eco-invent, for example, where every process already has uncertainty data derived from this eco-invent data quality system, and you're also using this eco-invent system for your foreground processes, you can run a complete Monte Carlo analysis that takes into account every uncertainty of every flow. Okay, this was it for data quality. Next, I will give a short introduction to the collaboration server that we have developed. The goal was to create a real multi-user environment that makes it possible or that facilitates group work, especially when users are working from different workplaces, but they want to work in the same database. And one focus was here to also provide real quality assurance so that each change that was made in the data can be tracked, for example. So what we did is we extended openLCA, which is used as modeling application. And in addition to this, we created a server or web application where the data is stored. Some main functions that the collaboration server provides is user rights management, which allows, well, to control who can see or who can change or who can review data. We have a tracking system so that all changes that are done in the data are tracked, including information on who made the change and when and what exactly was changed. It is also possible to go back to older versions of the database. So rollbacks are possible. And there is a quite powerful diff tool that shows the user what exactly has changed in which version. let's have a look at a use case. We are assuming that there are two users who work from different places and they want to work in the same database. User 1 and user 2, they both have a local version of, or they both have openLCA installed on their local computer, and they have access to the collaboration server. First of all, a repository, which is the place where the data is stored, needs to be created in the web application, which you can see on the right side. And both users, we assume, are members of this repository. And then user 1 can connect his local database from within his openLCA software to this repository. So he can simply right-click on the database, and you see that this right-click menu was extended, and he selects Connect to Repository. And once his local database is connected, he can choose to commit his data to this repository. Committing means basically uploading. He can choose whether he wants to commit the complete database or just single elements of the database. And then, well, if it's the complete database, it might take a few minutes. But then in the web application, you can see all the data that was uploaded or committed. It looks kind of similar as an openLCA, or the icons and the colors and everything are the same, and you have the same information as in the software. Next, the second user, he would also connect, for example, an empty database with the same repository, and he can fetch the data. Fetching means basically downloading. So he will see a summary of all the changes or differences compared to his local database. And in this case, each database element is shown because he connected with an empty database. And once he fetched all the data, both users are basically on the same page and have the same database on their local computer. So let's now assume that user 2, who just fetched all the data, he makes a change in his openLCA software, and then he commits his change again to the repository. That's not a problem, he can do that. And then user 1 also makes a change in his local data and wants to commit. What happens? This does not work because the version on the server had changed already. So he first needs to fetch the new version, or rather fetch the changes that user 2 has done. And he will see an overview of all the changes and all the differences, and has to decide for each element separately what he wants to do, whether he wants to accept the data as it is on the repository or keep his local version. And afterwards, after he has decided on this, he can commit again his changes. In the web application, they can both see all the commits or all the uploads that have been done, and there is also a detailed view where you can see exactly what has changed. And you can also open this commit history in the openLCA software. So if you go not in the main menu, but under Windows, Show Views Other, and then select Commit History, you have exactly the same information as in the collaboration server, and you can even compare versions to each other. So it might look a bit technical in some places, like the whole workflow, but it is actually a really powerful application, and the only solution, at least in the LCA world, that provides this multi-user functionalities, including this quality assurance aspect. Yeah, if you're interested in the collaboration server and would like to have more information or test it, you can get in contact with me. So let's get to the next feature. This will be a bit shorter. We included an update manager in openLCA. So every time when you open a database that is that is from an older version of openLCA, the update manager opens automatically and shows all possible updates. In this case, there are two main updates, this one and this one. And for each update, there are dependent updates that are also shown and that will be implemented or installed together with the main update. And the updates are delivered together with the openLCA version. They are by default checked, all of them. There are some updates that are required, and these have to be installed when you want to open the database. And then there are optional updates, which can be unchecked, and then if you decide that you want to install them later, you can do that from within openLCA. So if I go back, for example, the creation of the data quality system is an optional update, so you can decide whether or not you want to have the EcoInvent pedigree matrix installed by default. If you select that, or if you decide you don't want to do that, you can go without it, and then later you can open the update manager directly from openLCA. If you right-click and select Open Update Manager, you will see all updates that you can still install. And yeah, if there are no updates that are available, you will get the message that nothing is available. And you can also, if you select Show Executed Updates, you will have a list of all the updates that you have already run. There are a few smaller improvements that I will also quickly show you. We changed some diagrams from pie charts to stack charts because in the pie charts we could not show negative results, and that was not so nice, so we decided to change this. Then we, in the analysis results and the quick results as well, we merged some tabs together that showed basically the same information, and we created a new tab which is called Impact Analysis, where you can see the LCA results per, well, impact category, and then dig down further, similar as in the contribution tree, on process and even flow level. And you also see the impact factor like as a reminder. This is one new tab, and then some other tabs like the inventory analysis has also been improved a bit. And as a last point, I would like to let you know, well, no, first, the process results table entries that they can now be copied to clipboard. That was not possible before, but this was rather a bug. And we have a new Hungarian translation. And then a little sneak peek, we are releasing kind of an intermediate version of openLCA 1.6.3, which includes only some small bug fixes. For example, we found that in the search function, the data quality systems were not included yet, so a few smaller things like this were fixed. And then one new thing is that it will be possible to save calculated results, which means that you can save a product system as aggregated process, which is quite nice. And a lot of, or quite some users have requested this in the past. So the 1.6.3 version will actually be released this week. And then we have a few upcoming trainings. One is in Berlin then in 2 weeks, where we still have some free seats. So if you're interested to learn also the basics of openLCA and not only the new features, you can still register on the openLCA website. And then our French partner will give a training in June, either in Paris or Bordeaux. That was not clear yet. And also in June, one of my colleagues will give at the SILCA conference in Colombia, will give a training about openLCA, LCA, and also social lifecycle assessment. So I hope you get a good overview of the new features in openLCA 1.6, and thank you for your attention. If anything was unclear, I'm now open for question. You can also type in questions and I can read them.
Hi Franziska, it's Chris Foster.
Hello, Chris.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. Just one question about the data quality system.
Yes.
Is the EcoInvent data quality schema the only one that's included in the default version?
It was now. We have a new version of the EcoInvent database that Andreas uploaded, and there he included also another version with uncertainties are based on another source. So it's basically also the pedigree matrix, but it has different uncertainty data. And this is included in, if you have access to EcoInvent 3.3, you will find a version on the Nexus website with this one included. So yeah, okay. In the future we will also provide more data quality systems, also one for social LCA, for example.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Anything else?
Well, I'll ask you another one,
mm-hmm.
since everyone else is gone. With the collaboration server
mm-hmm.
tool, does this, I mean, I'll display my ignorance of the way server applications work, but presumably this can work with access to less kind of any server, as long as people have the relevant server access rights. So, for example, you and I could work collaboratively on a database as long as you gave me access to your the Green Delta server to do that, even though we're not.
Yeah, there are basically two options. Either we host the server, or one of our services used, or it's also possible to have the data on a server within the company, for example.
Sure, that's what I was getting at. Yeah. Right.
Thank you again. As I said, I will also upload the webinar on our website, so you can have a look again or listen to it again, and also download the slides if you're interested. And if you have any further questions, you can, well, feel free to contact me via email, for example. Thank you very much.